So problem 4, please don't lose sight of what I'm really asking you to do is know how to do these things by hand. So I'll very quickly run through the multiplication concept real fast, and then I'll kind of talk through some of the other ones and we'll call that done. So make sure you're not doing these just in your calculator, but also by hand. So doing matrix multiplication, we have to first check our dimensions, make sure the inside dimensions match, because what we're saying is the row are the number of elements in the row, so it's 2 deep. Do they match the number of elements in the column 2 deep? If so, we can actually multiply, because then we have a number that matches up with each number. Now the resulting matrix will be the same dimensions as our outer, so therefore mine is going to be 2 by 2, and they don't have to match. In that case, just the inside ones need to match. So we're going to have a 2 by 2 matrix. So my 1, 1 entry, or my 1, 2 entry, 2, 1, 2, 2, are all done independently. So let's just start with the 1, 1 entry. The 1, 1 entry means I'm in row 1, column 1. So I'm going to use row 1 and column 1. So I take my first number, -4, multiply it with my first number, 3, which would make -12. Then we always add, and then so now I use, moving along in this row, my next entry is 1 and my next entry is 0, so 1 times 0 makes 0. So therefore when I add all of these together, my 1, 1 entry would be -12 plus 0, which makes -12. So now moving on to the 1, 2 entry, let me clean up a little bit of this mess. Okay, so now I'm on the 1, 2 entry. So still using row 1, but now I'm in column 2, and you notice it matches. This is row 1, this entry I'm looking for right here is row 1, column 2, so I use row 1, column 2. Now as I'm going, so the first element is -4, first element is -2, so -4 times -2, that makes +8, plus, now as I move across, 1 and 7, that makes +7, which will give me the answer of 15. I guess I should say, when I say, when I said always plus, I didn't mean always plus. What I meant to say is you're always adding the digits, and if one of them happens to be a negative, then you treat it like a negative. But we're always just going to take each coupling and multiply the numbers, then add all those numbers together. Okay, so now, I keep erasing things I don't want to erase. There we go. So now if I want my 2, 1 entry, that means I'm going to use second row, first column, and we just continue the process. So 2 times 3, that makes 6. Then I will use, moving across my row, whoops, my pen got off a little bit. Then I'm going to use that and that. So 0 times 0, that makes +0. So that just gives me the result of 6. Then last but not least, if I want the 2, 2 entry, I'm going to use, I believe that was a 3. There we go. I'm going to use, and oops, I lost this number too. Ah, Sugar Shack. What was that? 2. Okay, so, oh, it's right there. So moving along, I'm going to use first row, second column. So 2, -2, 2 times -2, that makes -4. Then I'm going to add that with my next entries, so 0 and 7, so that's 0. So that gives me a result of -4. And there you go. So the process for multiplying, remember it's always rows by columns, and you multiply each element and then add the elements together to get your answer. Why do I ask you question B? Well, that's to remind you that A times B does not equal B times A, so the order in which you do them is important. Then why do I give you this problem? Well, just to help you remember what's the process for adding, and it's, remember, just the position adds with position. So A1 would add with A1, B1 would add with B1, sorry, not A1. A11 would add with B11, A12 would add with B12, so on and so forth. So it's really just adding across. And then just just to remind you, the part D is just to remind you that we look at the parentheses and brackets and all that kind of stuff the same way we would with a normal math problem. Just do what's in the parentheses first, then work your way out. Okie dokie. Best of luck on the test.